Warmoth. The company is a paradox in the world of electric guitars. You won't typically see their logo emblazoned across a headstock or on a stage. In fact, the surest way to recognize a Warmoth is often by seeing no logo at all. The brand, for all intents and purposes, is invisible. And yet Warmoth is everywhere, making music on the world's biggest stages and in the hands of the world's greatest players. Pros and amateurs alike know and trust Warmoth as the leader in replacement necks and bodies for electric guitars and basses. 2020 is Warmoth's 40th anniversary, and this is the story of how a company that started in a suburban garage in 1980 grew to be the biggest manufacturer of replacement necks and bodies for electric guitars and basses in the world, all with an invisible logo. The Warmoth logo incorporates a cartoon turtle and the word Warmoth in an Art Nouveau font. It's branded into the heel or neck pocket of every part they produce. Once assembled, however, it becomes completely hidden from view. This runs contrary to every rule of marketing, and yet it's the way Warmoth does things. To understand why, we must travel back before computers and cell phones and Star Wars and Warmoth itself, to the early 1970s, and to the small, rainy Pacific Northwest town of Puyallup, Washington. There, far from the limelight of the LA music scene, a young man named Lynn Ellsworth, at the prompting of his childhood friend Wayne Charvel, began making guitar bodies from exotic woods under the business name First Impressions. To aid in the production of these bodies, Lynn needed special fixtures and jigs, and for these he turned to a neighbor, an ironworker and machinist named Jim Warmoth. Jim's experience working on bridges and dams had given him the skill to fabricate the equipment Lynn needed for his bodies, and, as it turned out, the equipment needed to make necks as well. And so, armed with these skills and $5,000 in cash from his wife Gail, Jim Warmoth partnered with Lynn in 1976 under the name Boogie Bodies, and they began building both bodies and, for the first time, necks. Gail, as well as their son Ken, also came to work at Boogie Bodies. Like any company, Boogie Bodies needed a logo, and for this they turned to Lynn's sister-in-law Connie, a graphic arts student. It was her who came up with the cute little hand-drawn turtle, and when paired with the company's slogan, "We don't make them fast, we make them right," it made perfect sense. In the late 70s, customers weren't yet accustomed to the immediate gratification today's online shopping experience provides. It was still a mail-order world. For several years, business was tight, and by the middle of 1978, both Jim and Lynn were forced to return to their previous careers in order to make ends meet. Young Ken Warmoth stayed on, managing day-to-day operations, and the many bodies and necks he built helped him perfect the principles, techniques, and approaches to lutherie that would serve him so well. He wasn't a guitar player and had no musical background, but what he did possess was a keen mind for engineering and tool making, and an uncommon drive for hard work. Boogie Bodies quickly gained a reputation among musicians, and the parts they made were used in the construction of some of rock's most iconic guitars. But by early 1980, disagreements between Lynn and Jim led them to disband Boogie Bodies. And in April of 1980, the partners dissolved the corporation and divided all the equipment, assets, and inventory equally. It was here Ken Warmoth saw an opportunity. Armed with the techniques he had learned, the tooling he needed, and an unquenchable drive to succeed, he opened Warmoth Guitar Products Incorporated that same month. Warmoth's first production shop was Ken's garage, its first showroom, Ken's living room, its first reception area, Ken's kitchen phone. His parents Jim and Gail also came to Warmoth, and the new company began taking orders. Right from the start, Warmoth was expanding the boundaries of electric guitar design, pioneering such advancements as the compound radius fretboard, the drop-top laminate, and conversion necks, which changed the scale length of a guitar without having to modify the bridge location. Some of the earliest creations to appear in the Warmoth showroom include Gibson scale conversion necks with 23 frets, neck-through guitars and basses, and this strange 5-string electric mandolin guitar. The complete instruments that Warmoth made during this period are extremely rare. It didn't take long for Ken to conclude that replacement parts were where the real money was. During the 70s, many guitar manufacturers had begun cutting corners. Necks often warped, had dead spots, or needed constant adjustment to stay in tune, and players wanted the means to improve their guitars with high-quality replacement parts. The Fender Stratocaster and Telecaster were extremely popular and featured bolt-on necks and modular components. This made them a perfect platform for parts replacement. Ken designed his necks and bodies to fit perfectly with Fender parts and with the scores of imported knockoffs that shared the same dimensions, allowing musicians to easily swap out bad parts for new ones. To make his replacement necks even more appealing, Ken began adding features never offered on the originals. Exotic woods and user-selectable options like custom back contours, custom fretboards, and custom fret sizes. This meant a new neck was no longer just a matter of utility. Now guitar and bass players could order necks customized to their own preferences and playing styles. To achieve the look that players were accustomed to, Warmoth cut their headstocks in the familiar Stratocaster and Telecaster shapes. But Ken's aim was never to simply duplicate what was already being done by Fender. From the beginning, he was out to build better parts, using smarter construction techniques, more efficient tools, and better materials. Meanwhile, Warmoth's reputation for manufacturing the highest quality guitar and bass parts wasn't just attracting the attention of players, it was attracting interest from other manufacturers as well. Schecter, Charvel, the Gibson Custom Shop, Yamaha, Valley Arts, Taya Guitars, SG Crafts, Sadowski, Nash, Pensasur, and James Trussard are all among the companies who have turned to Warmoth for parts over the years. Throughout the 80s and 90s, Warmoth grew mainly through mail order, and the main advertising vehicles were print ads and catalogs. Pictures of the Warmoth turtle were peppered throughout to make them more interesting. Leafing through the pages, you'll find drawings, mostly done by artist Barry Hochstrasser, depicting the turtle in a variety of activities. Among other things, he is a college graduate, a multi-instrumentalist, a jogger, a weightlifter, a seafood connoisseur, a pirate, a patriot, and a painter. During these years, Ken promoted the business tirelessly, attending trade shows nationally and internationally. Then, in 1989, Warmoth built a brand new production facility just down the road from Ken's home. This new space seemed cavernous at the time, and gave the company room for its first finishing facility. In 1993, Warmoth installed one paint booth and one UV cure booth, which were later sold to John Suhr. But the 90s had even more momentous changes in store for the company. Despite another new catalog printed in 95, Warmoth's sales declined steadily for the next few years. By 97, it was clear something needed to change. After much thought, Warmoth made the decision to quit the traditional wholesale business model and offer its products directly to customers. To facilitate this move, Warmoth launched its first website in 1998. To support the launch, Warmoth reprinted its 95 catalog, but this time the cover was emblazoned with a sticker introducing the new website and touting new factory direct working man's prices. This reprinting would prove to be Warmoth's final print catalog. The shift to direct online sales proved hugely popular. Warmoth was on the World Wide Web now, and there was no turning back. In order to sell oddballs, returns, and blemished items on the website, Warmoth created a section called the Thrift Shop. This marked the first time pre-built inventory was sold on the website, and as usual, the turtle was used to promote it. This particular turtle, known as Grouchy the Hoarder, remains unique in two ways. He is the only turtle who isn't smiling, and the only turtle to have been given a name. Then something unexpected happened. The thrift shop proved so popular that by 2008 it would expand into a massive in-stock showcase that featured not just blemished items, but new necks and bodies as well. Instead of choosing specs and waiting, you could browse through photos of actual items already in stock. Today you can browse through thousands of in-stock guitar and bass parts all ready for purchase. It's where the majority of Warmoth's sales now happen. But expectations of faster delivery meant the company's slogan had become outdated. The words, "We don't make them fast," were dropped, while the turtle, guitar in hand, played on. The internet wasn't the only thing in the 90s that meant big changes for Warmoth. In 1994, the Fender company sued to establish trademark of its Stratocaster, Telecaster, jazz bass, and precision bass headstock shapes, the shapes Warmoth and other companies had been making necks with for decades. The case lasted 2 years, and in June of '96 it was settled when Fender was granted their trademark, and Warmoth was granted a license to continue creating replacement necks with the distinctive Fender shapes. As part of the agreement, Warmoth could no longer display its logo or any other on the headstock. Going forward, it must be branded into the heel to a precise depth and accompanied by precise wording. From here on out, Warmoth's logo and turtle would be hidden once the parts were installed. With a new business model, a state-of-the-art website, and world-class parts, business was booming. But increased production meant more machinery, additional employees, and a larger inventory to store. By the late 2000s, working in the Warmoth shop had become like living on a submarine. Every available space was being utilized for something, with no room left to expand. In 2010, 2 new buildings were acquired a few miles away from the first. A second floor was added to one of the buildings, and both received a host of other retrofits and renovations. By 2012, the work was complete and Warmoth moved in. These 2 new buildings now house a greatly expanded paint booth, dedicated body, fret, photography, listing, web development, marketing, and fulfillment departments, the front offices, and the entire showcase inventory, usually between 5,000 and 7,000 parts. Back in the original building, the neck department has expanded to fill the newly created space. The new buildings also allowed for the creation of a video room, and in 2014, Warmoth began shooting content for its new YouTube channel. About the same time the new buildings were completed, Ken transferred ownership of the business to his daughter Sandy and her husband Sean. Sandy's involvement with the company had begun at childhood. Her official tenure as a Warmoth employee started in 1991, and she brought with her a wealth of experience and a modern approach to business and customer service. Sean oversees operations at the shop and works on product development. Ken stayed on in a consultant role, and until his passing in 2019, he could routinely be seen doing what he loved best, managing and processing wood and sharing his wealth of experience with younger generations. The official turtle graphic, the one that is branded into every neck and body Warmoth makes, has undergone just a few slight changes over its lifetime. In 2010, the hand-drawn sketch was replaced with one created on a computer. And in 2016, that version was further enhanced to show depth and to make the guitar structurally correct. Then, in 2017, the turtle was framed inside a circle to make it more usable across a range of media. Finally, in 2020, to commemorate Warmoth's 40th anniversary, it was augmented with laurels and Mount Rainier in the background, just as it is seen from the company's headquarters. Even now, nearly 70 years after its invention, the electric guitar continues to evolve. And for as long as it does, Warmoth will continue to help players customize their guitars and basses with world-class parts. And hidden somewhere within the neck of every one, Warmoth's beloved turtle will be there.